Well, welcome back once again to the Crabbie's Changing Room Chat ahead of Friday night's game, a rerun, Chris, of the 2010 game over at Croke Park. Certain Jim Hamilton involved. Welcome, Jim. Great to have you on.
Thank you. I love how you called me a certain Jim Hamilton. When you introduced Jason, you said a legend. Thank you.
Do you want me to rerun it? We are joined today by the second best second row ever to play for Scotland.
In the world. Oh, in
the world.
You pair have started already.
Oh, no. Hey. So we were the dream team, though, Al. This is what a lot of people don't realise. It's all about the Gray brothers. It was all about Wagga, British and Irish Lions. But actually, mate, me and you, Argentina, same year. Ireland at Croke Park in 2010. Mate, we had some big wins.
I was looking back at the game from 2010. Line-out stats.
Oh, stop it.
Honestly, well, what do you mean? Stop it. We've got 2 second rows on. We're not talking anything about kicking the ball or any of your. We're just talking line-outs today. That's all we're doing.
Rugby.
Right.
Proper rugby.
Rugby.
Impress me then. Impress me.
So their stats, they had 17 lineouts, of which we won 8.
8?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Who's is that you? Who's in the second row for them? Paul Connell?
Yeah.
Paul and Donica.
Donica, yeah.
Donica Callahan.
Rory, I remember chatting to him after the game. Rory didn't have his best game, chucking. So we were deliberately trying to make them throw over the top of us, and some of his were a bit short from what I remember. I mean, I don't remember the games that well, but I did check the stats. But we only had 5 or 6 lineouts. But yeah, we won 8 of theirs.
So how do you steal a lineout? Is it a strategy, or is it just covering all options and shouting and screaming and throwing people up in the air and putting off hookers? Is there a one size fits all for stealing a lineout?
Oh, yeah, I'll take this one, mate. It's like it says, mate, you just literally, mate, you shift to the front of the line out and you just scream, you close the gap, you scream with your hands in the air, and mate, you can, well, maybe not now, throw a few swear words in there, but that's what we were doing at the front of the line out. Just put them off, just do this with your hand. Mate, I tell you, it's amazing. Like me and Al, like we joke about it, but we both put in a lot of work and we were really passionate about the line out, maybe because we weren't the offloading, versatile style player.
I'll do.
Yeah, we'll cut that bit. So we did put a lot of work, but I just think you can almost overanalyze it. And you know, we came up with a bit of a system that worked for a few years, and joking about the dream team of me and Al, but we with us both there because we were keen on the line out. We were passionate about it, and look, frankly, in our time playing for Scotland, we did have a good back. We had a good scrum and we had a good line out. And once you've got that and you build a bit of momentum around that, with Ewan Murray at tight head, we had Chunk at loose head, 40 throwing the ball in. We had an array of back rows that were willing to jump.
Good back rows in the line out.
Exactly.
The Killer Bees were all good options.
Yeah, they were. And that's when we put the work in. And so when we played against Ireland in 2010, when we played against England that year, we had a really good line out. And I think that we'll probably chat a little bit about the game, but you look at that tournament as a whole, and we didn't get the results that we deserved. And you played in that Wales game where we were winning with 80 minutes on the clock, and you had a nasty injury. Tom Evans had a nasty injury. But that year, we actually played really well. Like, we actually had a really good year. It was just, I think the Wales game that year kind of halted us really, both emotionally and a little bit physically, because then we lost to Italy the week after. But I think that game against Ireland in 2010, we built, as a forward pack anyway, we built a lot of momentum around scrum time, around line-out time, and I think we thoroughly deserved that win. And we probably could have, like a lot of things in our generation, there was a lot of times that we could have, should have, would have, but we actually did it that day, and I think we fully deserved it, and I was well happy.
We better move on from lineouts before we lose all of our listeners. Going back to 2010, Jim, what's your recollections of the game? Killer Bees, Johnny Beattie's try, Dan Park's penalty at the end. Do you remember it all?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I went back through the archives to have a look, because I don't really look back too often. And we've spoken about it before. A lot of people ask me to sum up my career, and I say that there weren't many good days, but there were a few great days. And I think that was a great day. And I mentioned it just earlier when we were chatting about it. That was a really tough championship, right? Because we were so close. in that game against Wales, and that could have been completely different. We got the draw against England as well. If we would have beat Wales, I'm certain we would have beaten Italy as well. We lost all momentum. So it was almost like we were going into that last game at Croke Park, and every single person outside of our bubble would have been like, yeah, there ain't a chance this Scotland team are going to win. But, mate, we had a really good team. You know, we had the killer bees in the back row. You know, Parksy took a lot of stick playing for Scotland, but in that game, when it mattered most, that for me is what stands out. It's that kick from the touchline. Like at the point of time that it was, I think we went something like 17-3, 17-5 or something like that. We were winning comfortably in that game, and we were all over them. But then they naturally, because when we played for Scotland, that's what happened. Teams would come back in if we were winning, like they did. And fair play to Parks. I think it was Nick DeLuca got the turnover with Simon Daniele maybe on that touchline. And when that kick went over, I know there was still a restart to happen, but mate, it was such an amazing feeling. Not because we'd beaten Ireland, but because of everything we put in to that tournament that year to actually a good Irish team. Were they on for the Grand Slam or they were on for the Triple Crown?
They were on for the Triple Crown, and that was part of the night out afterwards, because we all ended up in the same nightclub in Dublin, and they had all their Triple Crown party arranged. And we took full advantage of it. So we mentioned it the night out, Jim. For me, it was good fun, and I actually remember Johnny Beattie sitting with Rob Kearney and the respective wives and girlfriends in the beautiful corner. Where were you at that stage? Can you remember?
Yeah, I was with the non-beautiful corner. So yourself and Alan Jacobson. We had a lot of disappointment. So to actually win that game in Dublin, which, as we know, is a great place to go out. They're very sociable there. But I remember we went to celebrate the victory. And like you mentioned, the Irish team, their Triple Crown was all set up. They thought it was a foregone conclusion, which made the beer taste slightly nicer. But I remember, and what happens is when you used to go out after a rugby match, and, you know, if you had your suit on, obviously we had our tracksuits on, so everyone knew who we were. You cause a bit of a stir, don't you? Because a lot of people, especially in Dublin, know all about the rugby. They've either gone to the game or they've watched it on TV. And I remember, because we won the game, I've ended up in the VIP lounge with Chunk, with Alan Jacobson. And I'm sat at a table with these really cool, hipster-looking guys. And they're singing around the table, and they're quite chill. So we're just sat there, and loads of people coming up asking for photos. And I've had to say to these guys, look, really sorry. Beaten Ireland today. And I stole about 4 or 5 lineouts, so I've got to apologise. We're getting mobbed here. And so I actually said to the guys, I apologise. People are coming up left, right and centre taking pictures. I said, oh, lads, get in the photo. So people are coming up. It was like Father Christmas. And so I'm sat there with Chunk, and then these lads get up to leave. And then everyone, you know, like the camera phone light, everyone's like following them with the lights and stuff like that. And I said to the security guy, I said, dude, what's the crack with these lads? And he said, oh, it's the Mumford & Sons.
I remember you telling that story the next day.
Oh my word.
You mentioned great blokes to have in a team, and we already chatted them a wee bit there, Jim. But Chunky, Ali Jacobson at Lucid, what a man to have around, not only on the park but off the park as well. He's a big mate of yours, I know. But he was just a fantastic guy to have in and around the squad, wasn't he?
No better man. No better rugby man in the modern era to have. Because he was such a good bloke off the pitch, but you know when he stepped over the pitch, regardless of what preparation has been, regardless of anything that went before results-wise, he wanted it so bad, you know, and that was a good thing about you. He just put in every single millimetre of his being into the shirt, into the team. But then, you know, win, lose or draw, that, you know, he's going to enjoy it, because that's the way that he lived his life. And I had a really good relationship with Chunk, and like they're the times that I miss, and they're the people that I miss. And you know, this is one of the things where when you retire is when you look back on your career. I'm not too sure everyone is the same, but what I look back on, I don't look back on, you know, winning games. I've had to go back and look at this game because I don't really remember it. But you remember the people, you remember the good people, right? Mm-hmm. And he was one of the best. So to have played with him was a real pleasure. And we had some real good characters, and he was top of the tree for that one.
Well, it's been brilliant to have the legend that is Jim Hamilton on the Crabbie's changing room chat ahead of tonight's game against Ireland. I look back on some of Jim's memories as well as some of Moss's and I's as well. So enjoy tonight's game.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks for having me, guys. Loved it.
And on the bench, Ireland might lack experience in front row cover, but O'Gara and Carney will certainly not weaken the back line. For Scotland, 20-year-old lock Richie Gray is in for the injured Nathan Hines. And the referee today, the vastly experienced Jonathan Kaplan, another South African. That's 3 in a row for Ireland. Interesting, Philip Matthews, how he refs things today.
Absolutely, and particularly the breakdown. Ireland did not fare well last week against Wales. They're going to have to put that right, and that might be where Scotland might seek to gain an edge. Andy Robertson mentioned the breakdown. If they can play Jonathan Kaplan better at the breakdown, they might just get an edge with loose ball.
83,000 cheer once more at Croke Park for this, the penultimate game in this RBS Six Nations, but the final game at Croke Park of a rugby nature. Ireland with the first chance to come through. David Wallace. And carried on by Cian Healy with a Connell in support. And Ireland attacking from the off. Darcy. And out there coming in is Jordan Murphy. And he rides the tackles for a while. Wallace and the crash ball. Out it comes, and Ireland again attacking, and Keith Earls tries to take that pass from Tommy Bowe, just evades his grasp, but all the early attack from Ireland.
Yes, well, you'd have thought that was a second half start from Ireland, because they've just started clinically. David Wallace very, very prominent. Tommy Bowe again taking those lines off from his own wing, and just that pass not going to hand. Or Keith Earls could have been a try there.
Now these are the best two line-out sides in the championship. Scotland have only lost 2 of 46. Ireland with 3 from 32 going astray. But both will try and challenge. Well, that one is lost only from the knock-on from Chris Cussiter.
Yeah, this is a real key area for Scotland to focus on today. And Andy Robertson will be very, very clear that Irish lineouts anywhere near the Scottish 22 are going to have to be on high alert, because Ireland have gained a significant number of their points, their 5-pointers, their 7-pointers from lineouts in that area.
And Chris Cussiter, captain, down with a knock. Mike Blair is on the bench. And Dr. James Robson of Scotland and Lions, standing for many years, is quickly on.
Well, again, Ireland really challenging in the end. They're not really able to put much pressure on that line, and that was just probably a poor tap from Scotland.
I'm not sure if that's what's bothering him now, but he had some of the worst grazing I've ever seen on a knee. I know rugby players don't usually complain of a grazed knee, but massive scabs all over his knee from the sandy pitch at Murrayfield last week, but Cussiter seems to be fine. So Ireland's scrum from that Cussiter knock-on, and the noise will grow inside Croke Park. This is an area where Scotland might expect to have at least parity, perhaps better. That's a good solid scrum from Ireland. And Sexton finds a Driscoll, and on the loop Sexton again, and then space appears, but the ball is loose and scooped up quickly by DeLuca. Scotland with their first chance, and a familiar sight. Dan Parks sees the space, and a decent thump in there, and the ball wandering towards touch. Well, it's better than decent from Dan Parks. What a kick that is from the Australian-born fly half.
No, yet again, Ireland threatening to cut open the Scottish defence very early on, but that last pass just not going to hand. And that's exactly what Dan Parks needed to do. He wants to get territory, start to get some pressure on Ireland.
And just at its very last, it hobbled out. And this line out now, huge pressure on the throw of Rory Best. Comfortably gathered at the back by Stephen Ferris.
Well, that's good variation, because they haven't really looked to Ferris so far in this championship. They've thought about the line out, Ireland.
That's Rory Best holding it at the back for Ireland. And back to Sexton, his kick half charge down, anybody's to claim now, but into the hands of Keith Earls, and Ireland may come. Rory Best spills it.
Oh, again a spill. Are Ireland a little bit over anxious? They're not showing quite the same composure early doors. I mean, they're going about the job in the right way. Just a little bit of lack of concentration there. Keith Earls put onside by the charge down.
So now Scotland scrum 15 metres from the Irish try line. Well, free kick too early, going down from Ireland. Scotland have their attack in midfield. Cussiter and Parks into Rossford. Big beast of a hooker buys another couple of metres. Scotland have the penalty coming, the advantage is there. Graham Morrison spins through a tackle and still wanders on up to within 6 metres. Scotland desperate to get that final move, the final cutting edge that might bring a try. The advantage still theirs. Parks again, and John Barclay smothered. No advantage, back for the Scottish penalty. And Paul O'Connell is the man penalised.
Well, Jonathan Kaplan setting his stall out fairly early on, pinging Paul O'Connell for not rolling away. No, this is something that Ireland were guilty of last week against Wales as well. So they now see that they're going to need to play that with Jonathan Kaplan. They're going to have to be on guard, because anytime that Scotland do get pressure, they will look to take these 3-point opportunities and get the scoreboard ticking over.
And Dan Parks surely will, and surely does. In the last game at Croke Park, the first points to Scotland. 5 minutes gone. Scotland 3-0 in front.
Yeah, a little bit against the run of play, you might say. Ireland creating a couple of try-scoring opportunities but failing to convert them. This is the penalty. Now, as Paul O'Connell goes down, he needs to let go first, make a deliberate effort to let go and then re-engage.
Long restart from Sexton. And Scotland just try and muscle their way out of the 22. And Dan Parks finds a good touch in that far side.
No, key area for Ireland. They'll attack from this if they can, and Scotland will know that. This is an area they need to be on high alert. They've really got to get men in the air against this Irish line-out.
And it's taken safely. Oh, and through goes Tommy Bowe again. So dangerous, so lively. And Ireland come at pace again. Gordon Darcy just shovels his way forward. Sexton again looking and finding David Wallace. Again, he wheels through a tackle or two. Keith Earls coming in at pace and breaking, half breaking. Paul O'Connell on his shoulder, and Ireland coming now strongly, and Sexton and Jordan Murphy there, but the ball spilled. Well, spilled again at a crucial time for Ireland, but the build-up play promises much more to come.
Yes, well, it was Keith Earls. Look at that late run. It's just so difficult to pick that up, because everybody would have been watching Paul O'Connell there. Earls takes it so late, gets beyond the gain line. O'Connell again offloads well, but ball just not sticking. That's danger for Scotland. They're on warning now. They really need to defend, and what they need to do is not defend in their own half. They need to play more of the game in Irish territory.
Ireland making errors, but making chances. And that scrum thought about working for a moment. Again, a free kick to Scotland.
Well, that will disrupt Ireland's phases in possession if they can't rely on getting scrum ball or giving away penalties. That's the second scrum, second penalty to Scotland.
And Parks doesn't find touch. A free kick, of course, though, but he was looking for touch. This time calls for the mark and quickly sets it to Hugo Southwell. And Southwell, with that accurate left boot, will take Scotland back into the Ireland half.
No, that's good play by Hugo Southwell. Kick had to be perfect to evade Tommy Bowe, but they'll want to play lineouts because they'll want to give their lineout a chance to try and get on top of this Irish lineout. So Scotland will be happy enough to look for lineouts, certainly in the first 20-30 minutes, and see how much pressure they can exert on Rory Brest's throw.
Well, both sides will be challenged and under pressure on their own line-out throws, possibly never before in this championship. Shortened line-out for Ireland. Easily taken by Donk O'Callaghan. And again, a lovely little move brings space for the Irish backs. Jordan Murphy, smothered by Nick DeLuca. Donk O'Callaghan. Down the blind side they come again, but still finding inches of space, Keith Earls. And Jordan Murphy, good hands to David Wallace, power and pace, but just into touch.
Oh, it looks like Ireland have really decided that they're going to give this, as you used to say in the 80s, a real lash. David Wallace cropping up all over the place. They're really using him like an extra three-quarter. It's as if they've got 8 backs against 7 at the moment, and he's just couldn't hold his foot out of touch there.
A toe skidding on the touchline. Now Scotland's line-out has to fire, challenged and challenged well by Ireland. And Rory Best comes round with it. So Ireland another chance to attack, and once more David Wallace doing some carrying work. Sexton and on to Darcy, and again Sexton in the loop, and Sexton is through, cutting through that Scottish defence, and Gordon Darcy, and O'Driscoll has the ball, and Brian O'Driscoll, his first try in this Six Nations, and Ireland have threatened, and now they have delivered.
Oh, that was on the cards. Ireland are really packing those spaces at the moment. Jonathan Sexton on the loop, watch it, it's good quick ball. Jonathan Sexton creates the extra man himself by looping around, and there's just too many Irish attackers for Scotland to defend against, and the inside support run from Brian O'Driscoll, excellent. Ireland have used that so well this year, that quick ball back inside, changing the points of attack, really difficult to defend against.
Well, many others have scored for Ireland in this championship. Tomas O'Leary and Tommy Bowe and Keith Earls and Brian O'Driscoll in the final game. Gets another try for his vast collection, number 39 now in an Irish jersey. And gives Jonathan Sexton a chance to turn 5 points into 7. Well, Sexton's kicking has sometimes been wayward in this Six Nations, but he's off and running here with the extra 2 points after this try.
Yeah, well, it was simple enough for Brian O'Driscoll, but the key to it was he took that inside line. You don't take those inside lines unless you know that that's something that Jonathan Sexton is going to be looking for, and Jonathan Sexton has employed that really well this year.
Well, what a pace Ireland have started this game at. How can Scotland respond? Max Evans firing in on that ball, but into touch.
Well, it all came from a lost line-out, so Scotland need to exert some pressure here. Ireland have shown great variation in their line-out so far, and they've done it again. They've cut it to 5.
Jim Hamilton this time swats it back for Scotland, but Donald O'Callaghan is on the loose ball, hacking it on. Max Evans now under pressure, finds Hugo Southwell. Huge pass to Sean Lamont. Parks again, over the head of Keith Earls, and perhaps a little bit too long. Touchdown comfortably by Jordan Murphy. Back for the 22 they will come.
Well, this young man's got the confidence to consider anything at this stage. There's the try again. Jonathan Sexton has played a key role in the high try-scoring rate of this Irish side this year, there's no question.
Well, Ireland have taken the restart after it went loose. That ball looked to have been just tapped forward, Scotland's advantage, but Scotland's ball anyway. Kelly Brown is tap tackle, Graham Morrison, Gordon Darcy upon him, support is there, and Scotland up to within metres of the line and over, and the try is scored. And celebrations for a Scottish try, and Johnny Beattie, who has been a real star for Scotland in this Six Nations, moves Scotland in front.
Well, Ireland will look to this and probably think that they only have themselves to blame. There's a little bit too, as they say, too much rugby trying to be played there. First Cian Healy, and then Stephen Ferris. Well deserved though, Johnny Beattie putting himself in the place. And there's the 3 Bs combining pretty well to make that try for Scotland. He was never going to be caught. He evades the challenge of Jordan Murphy. He was a little bit high, good strength, and stretched his full 6'4".
Well, a hugely powerful runner, Johnny Beattie, and a try that his father, a player of similar vein, would be very proud of. John Beattie of Scotland and the Lions. Well, 2 tries in 15 minutes in this match. Dan Parks from the very fringes of the pitch with this most difficult conversion attempt. He is a right footer, so that slightly favours him. A respectful hush at Croke Park, but just drifting wide from Dan Parks. And Scotland's lead remains just a single point, and listen to the crowd as they urge Ireland to hit back.
Oh, that's the kick again, and whilst it's entertaining rugby and the crowd will want to see a little bit of that from an Irish perspective, they're probably going to want to be a little bit more judicious of when they keep that ball alive. In danger of just getting a little bit too far ahead of themselves. Game's not won yet.
It eventually comes back to Scottish hands. Kelly Brown trying to hack it free. Ross Ford shores it up for Cussiter. Southwell comes into the fly-half position. Long, rather loose pass to Morrison. Steps round one though, and Graham Morrison looks for support. Only Alan Jacobson is there. And eventually the prop gathers it up. Here comes Scotland again through DeLuca and onto Lamont. And the passes look to have been spilled, and indeed an Irish scrum, but both sides have clearly come to play a bit of rugby today.
Yes, I think both sides recognise that that's the only way they're going to win this game. I don't think Scotland feel that playing territory and getting 3 points. They know Ireland are going to score tries. So I think Andy Robinson said it, Stollet. He knows that Scotland need to score tries, and at some stage Scotland need to start converting the chances they've been making, and this is the time to do it. They've nothing to lose. You may as well start here.
Down it goes again.
Well, Cian Healy looked like he might have been the first man to ground there, but Jonathan Captain's given him another go.
Still a very young man, Cian Healy, certainly in prop terms, sort of like dog years. He's just 22. He's gaining experience all the time. Down it goes again. Penalty to Scotland this time.
Yeah, this is an area that Scotland will have definitely been confident about getting an edge. Ewan Murray comes with a big reputation, and so far it's 1 or 2 up to Ewan Murray versus Cian Healy.
Parks doesn't bite off too much with that kick, but it's Scotland's line out. Again, Ireland may well contest this one ferociously. Safely taken by Kellock. And Parks again, this time Morrison just bounces off the tackle from Sexton. And Parks juggles with it. Alan Jacobson. He spills in the tackle. John Hayes. And now Sexton and Jordan Murphy. Oh, and slick hands from Brian O'Driscoll. Keith Earls now. And looking for the return, Jordan Murphy. Ireland's ball. Ireland's advantage from that Scottish knock-on. It's breathless stuff.
Well, it's like ends of season 7s, isn't it? I mean, they're really trying to keep the ball alive there. And the more it goes like that, you'd say that, well, the more of those 50-50 balls. Keith Earls tries to keep that open, tries to keep it alive. Now, that maybe was the pass that wasn't on, but Jordan Murphy probably felt there wasn't much support for him there.
Irish player down, injured. So midway through this first half, in this final game of Rugby Union at Croke Park, and Scotland lead by a single point, but the threat from Ireland has been clear throughout. And it's Healy who's down. And back up, Andy Robinson watches on.
I think he'll be happy enough for the start. It's important for Scotland to strike back and get that score when they did. That'll have done their confidence a lot of good. And they're right in this.
Well, this is the area of concern for Ireland. Slightly more solid from Ireland, picked up at the back by Jamie Heaslip and shrugs off a tackle. Sexton again, and this time it's a loose pass, and Nick DeLuca heading through on it, but scooped up gratefully by Ireland. Back deep inside their own half now. Tomas O'Leary setting his backline on either side before the little box kick from the scrum half himself. Taken by Southwell, but takes the hit from Tommy Bowe. And the counter-ruck from Scotland just secures it. Cussiter snuffles away for it. Then Cian Healy comes through, and the captain, and Cussiter does well. Ireland penalty though, Scotland hanging on to the ball on the tackle.
Well, it was counter-ruck after counter-ruck there. Both sides doing that. Now, Scotland are putting the shooter up in the line, and cottoned on to what Ireland are really trying to do and putting a lot more pressure on this midfield the way the likes of France would have been able to do earlier on in the tournament. That's something they're going to have to keep doing, because in the early few minutes Ireland were really cutting Scotland apart. They're going to need to close down those holes.
Just outside perhaps the range of Jonathan Sexton, and goes for touch. Not the most impressive touch, but it will be Ireland's line out.
Yeah, this is a range that Ireland are very, very comfortable and happy to attack from. So this is kind of high alert for Scotland. These are the areas that Scotland really need to be on guard from a defensive perspective.
And again, O'Connell is the man. And again, the loose pass. A few mistakes from Ireland. And Scotland will have that scrum. And for all the promise and attacking flair that Ireland are showing in sections, there are a few mistakes as well.
Yes, the execution, the composure is just not quite there. I just wonder whether they're just a little bit flat. In danger of a little bit of complacency, getting that early score, which was so deserved, but I wonder whether they just relaxed a little bit, taking their foot off the pedal.
At the moment, Scotland are perhaps enjoying these scrums just a little bit more. Jacobson, Ford and Murray up against Cian Healy, Rory Best and John Hayes. There's a forearm or two on the ground, and then bodies join them. We'll do it all again.
Well, I never think these situations favour the defending side. The more the scrums go on, the better it gets, I think, for the attacking side, even though as it is a Scottish scrum.
Far more solid scrum, and Beattie feeds Cussiter onto Parks. And again, his route is over the head of Keith Earls to Jordan Murphy. A dangerous man to give ball to, and he manages to offload to Brian O'Driscoll. Paul O'Connell. This is Ferris. Sexton and on. And Tomas O'Leary. And David Wallace. O'Leary finds Cian Healy. And here come Ireland once again. Tommy Bowe again in the middle of the line, and Brian O'Driscoll skipping over a body or two. Ferris. Anybody's ball to claim, says the referee. And Scottish bodies diving upon it. Back it comes to Hugo Southwell. Lots of space there, and a good touch found, and good pressure relieved by Scotland. Let's go down and get the thoughts of an injured Irish player, Luke Fitzgerald. What do you make of it so far, Luke? Thank you, Luke. A Scottish player down injured. Looks like Kelly Brown. Scotland play on. Ireland have ball. And Sean Lamont waits for this one and takes it, then takes the thump from Tommy Bowe into touch, and Ireland creep back into the Scottish half.
No, look, Fitzgerald's made a good point there. On occasion, Ireland do need just to hold on to the ball just that little bit longer. That was a good box kick by Tomas O'Leary. No, that's great. That's better territory now.
Scotland not yet making the change, but Ireland have made a change. Kelly Brown is still looking a bit groggy for Scotland. Alan MacDonald is waiting, but on has come Rob Carney for Ireland. replacing Jordan Murphy. So Jordan Murphy must have a niggle. And indeed, MacDonald has come on for Scotland. Kelly Brown is off. He, of course, had a very bad head knock in a collision with Ugo Monja last week. I don't know if that's a blood injury because James Robson seems to be mopping his face. Scotland, though, have that ball at the back through Barclay on. Another loose pass. Hugo Southwell fires a low one, and too long from Southwell. And Rob Carney's first duty is to watch that one go dead. And all the way back they will come for Irish ball.
Well, at last, Scotland able to put a bit of pressure on that Irish line-out.
Just to confirm, that is a blood substitution. Alan MacDonald on for Kelly Brown.
Well, that kick was well defended in Ireland by Ireland. Hugo Southwell couldn't see the touchline. He couldn't thread it through to the touchline. He just put a little bit too much weight on it. No, Ireland need to get a good solid scrum here. Ewan Murray is bound to try and put a bit of pressure again on this near side on Cian Healy.
They go Ireland with more of the territory, but fewer points at the moment. The scrum just creaking a little bit, but it's at the back for Ireland, and Scotland infringing, and Ireland will have the penalty. This one might be kickable.
Yeah, well, they're under a lot of pressure on that left-hand side. Ball was stuck under feet there, and they were having to work so hard to hold their position. They weren't able to free their feet up to heel it back. And Chris Cusser able to put a lot of pressure on. So he's made the tackle there, and he needs to get up and release again. Both sides having a bit of struggling really to work with Kaplan's interpretation.
Well, again, no shot at goal from 45 metres plus, and Ireland with that kick from Johnny Sexton into the Scottish 22, and again trying to put the squeeze on. A try apiece at the moment from Brian O'Driscoll and from Johnny Beattie. And pinched by Scotland this time, so both these imperious lineouts being challenged today. Dan Parks shapes to kick and then finds Hugo Southwell and uses his powerful left boot. And that's a good ploy and well executed by Scotland.
Well, they gained a lot of yards there, but it was on for Hugo Southwell. He had a 3-2 there. I think he could have held ball in hand, and maybe that's one of the differences between Ireland and Scotland. Look, he had just outside of it Nick DeLuca and acres of space. Ireland, I think, would have kept that in hand and would have made a lot more from it.
The confidence that comes from a winning side in Ireland, and one which has just fallen short a few times in Scotland. This lineup works well through David Wallace for Ireland. Coming in at pace is Darcy and through Tommy Bowe. Good pressure comes in on O'Leary. Cian Healy, good step from the prop. Like Marcus Horan before him, he's a footballing prop. And Ireland have the penalty again. And I wonder if they might, from this very central position, fancy a shot at goal.
Well, again, Jonathan Kaplan saying you weren't supporting your weight. So, in effect, going off your feet at the tackle. Yeah, as it looks like Jonathan Sexton's going to have a pop. I'll do no harm for his confidence. He can stick this one over.
It is interesting, though, the highlight you made there of the fact that Hugo Southwell 3-on-2, and no matter how deep you are, I'm sure that Ireland would have attacked from deep there, but Southwell putting boot on ball. Eventually it comes back to a penalty and a chance for Ireland to move back in front. Well, near silence for Johnny Sexton, but just pushing it outside the uprights, and Scotland's lead, however slender, remains.
Well, that was well within Jonathan Sexton's range, and a bit of a sign that he's still not striking the ball as he'd like to.
Well, he pushed a few against England and pulled a few against Wales. Ronan O'Gara waits on the bench, but Sexton, a very confident individual, and offers a lot more around the park than just his boot. Long restart from the 22 from Dan Parks. A bit of confusion, but backwards it went from Tomas O'Leary. And Rob Kearney on for Jordan Murphy. Comes for a little chip. Taken by Graham Morrison. Takes the tackle from Kearney. Hugo Southwell. Cussiter looks and finds DeLuca. John Barclay out there. Big double hits coming in from Earls and Associates. Southwell looking, seeing the on-rushing Irish defence, and ambles forward himself. Ross Ford. And Scotland coming again. Southwell once more. This is Max Evans. Scragged around the collar. Looked to be lost forward. David Wallace competing for it, but Scotland secure it. Barclay feeds Parks. In comes Sean Lamont. Here's Alan McDonald still on as a replacement for Kelly Brown. And does well, makes some ground. Graham Morrison, Sean Lamont. Bounces off one and now there's space. John Barclay charging forward. Max Evans outside, inside Nick DeLuca. Forwards pile in to secure that ball. Parks once more and Ross Ford again asked to carry, which he does. And Scotland creeping towards that try line. Hugo Southwell looks. And now Ireland competing ferociously for that ball. Scotland, though, will have the ball. Irish knock on. Scottish scrum. A lot of good things being done by Scotland in attack.
Well, that particular piece of play, Scotland were winning the contact. They were half-breaking a couple of tackles there, which is allowing them to consistently get beyond the gain line. Even though the ball wasn't that quick, in the contacts they were a lot stronger. Ireland backing off a little bit. They need to be a lot more assertive in the tackle. There, really good example where Ferris didn't win the contact there. That enabled the attack to maintain its momentum. More contact there. The ball's not particularly quick. Ireland looked like they might have snuffed it out. But again, Scotland are able to keep the momentum going. Again, look at that. Not winning the contact there. Rory Best retreating, giving a couple of yards. They need to start knocking Scotland back in the tackle.
Well, perhaps the Scotland attack doesn't quite have the same pace of the Irish attack, but it doesn't lack anything in power and commitment. Kelly Brown is back on. He's been mopped up. Alan McDonald, whose brief cameo is over. He'll probably appear later, and he's played well in the couple of minutes he's been on. And Brian O'Driscoll, that too, sadly, is a familiar sight. He takes so many knocks and has taken so many bashes in his long and illustrious career. Today, his 101st cap. And his task now is to organise this Irish defence. Scottish scrum, 10 metres from the try line. Big test for Hayes and Rory Best and Cian Healy. Free kick to Scotland. So the early hit from Ireland again. And next time it'll be a full-on penalty, says Jonathan Kaplan. Scotland up for the scrum again. Jonathan Kaplan says bind up, and then Scotland get a bit of a drive on. They will have the scrum again, and they certainly seem to have a bit of an edge.
Very much so. Ireland's apprehension at scrum time. John Hayes really keen to get a really good step and get on top of Alan Jacobson early on, and just doing it a little bit too early. Kaplan's noticing that, and at the moment he sees the Scottish scrum as the upper hand, and that's the way he's likely to referee it from here on, because they have got the upper hand.
Well, it's a fascinating encounter between Alan Jacobson, 5'10" tall, 5'10" wide, against John Hayes, 6'3", 6'4". And again it goes down. What will Jonathan Kaplan do? He says we will have it again. Just under 5 minutes to go. A point Scotland's lead. How they would dearly love something more to take into the break. Alan Jacobson sporting a few wounds. Again, Jonathan Kaplan just making sure that scrum stays up. It's threatening to go down. Scotland want to march it on. Johnny Beattie holds, use it, and Scotland do. Dan Parks. Eventually the run comes in from Sean Lamont. Parks again, and Alistair Kellock, 6'8", the Glasgow captain, drives on with a little help. A boot has been lost. Scotland once more. Jim Hamilton, but the giant is chopped down, and Scotland being punched back. Dan Parks again. Not too many options out wide. It's once more Lamont, and easily read by Ireland, and Ireland are breaking out of their own 22 in defence. Scottish penalty though.
Well, that's a fair call. Donald O'Callaghan needed to move, or needed to be seen to make an effort to move away. If you're not seen to even to be trying to move away, you're going to run the danger. And Scotland will take this three-pointer, and a deserved lead in many respects to the break.
Ewan Murray puts back on his size 24 shoe, and Dan Parks will ready himself for another reasonably straightforward penalty attempt. And again, 3 points will be gratefully taken if it does go over, but again, Scotland would want just that little bit more.
They would, but they'll be very, very happy going into half-time if they can go in the lead, because their confidence will grow. They will get the confidence out of defence. They've made an impression on this Irish line-out as well, and that's going to stop Ireland playing if they can keep that up in the second half.
Simple enough, straight through from Dan Parks. Scotland's lead is 4 points, just a couple of minutes remaining in this first half.
It just seems to be a lack of intensity about Ireland so far. They started about their job, really looking to put width on the ball with a lot of confidence. They got that early score, and the danger is they say, yeah, this is the way it's going to go, we're on top, and they've just taken their foot off the gas a little bit.
Alan MacDonald is back on as a blood replacement once again for Kelly Brown. And Ireland's ball right in the centre of field. Here is a final attack from Ireland in this first half. Cian Healy. Sexton. A little bit of confusion. O'Driscoll carries it, but only sideways and then backwards with the Scottish tackles. Loose and gathered by Sexton, who's taken round the collar. Play on, says the referee. Tomas O'Leary. O'Driscoll plays scrum half, and Tommy Bowe and O'Connell. Scottish ball. Turned over in the tackle, lost forward. The Custer asking how long. 40 seconds. Parks sends up the Gary Owen. On forward coming Carney, but Scotland's ball now, then in Irish hands, a couple of knock-ons, back they'll come for the Scottish scrum. And I think Jonathan Kaplan will make them play this before we see this half out.
Well, it was good play by Dan Parks. That was a good up and under. Rob Kearney having to come a long, long way from that. Got himself into the right position, but wasn't able to hold it. Now, back to Scotland's, that was a good challenge in the air by Graham Morrison. Back to Scotland's preferred set piece, the scrum. They'll be happy enough to get another go at this Irish scrum before half-time, just to exert a little bit more pressure. Who knows, in a penalty.
Time is up. A final assault from Scotland. Perhaps Johnny Beattie, try scorer, picks up and goes. Rossford takes a big hit and the hooker goes backwards. Parks on to Southwell, and Scotland with the final say. Long pass out to Morrison. The ball is loose again, now back with Scotland. John Barclay. Cussiter again. He's manhandled. Still Scotland, still a little thoughtful attack. Southwell goes direct. Jim Hamilton, Scotland would be delighted if any infringement were to come here from Ireland. Deep it comes, Dan Parks, drop goal attempt. Good strike, and he's celebrating already, Dan Parks. And, well, Scotland have taken and claimed the points just before half-time, and their lead is 7 points. They've worked hard for it. Ireland have offered so much in attack, but this the final say of the half.
Yes, and much deserved. They got the scrum, real area of strength for them, created the opportunity. Ireland are on warning. They need to up their intensity in the second half, because Scotland, particularly in that last 20, started to win those contacts and a deserved lead on the board.
Ireland's Triple Crown hopes looking a little bit more tenuous than they did 40 minutes ago. 14-7 down at the break.
So I'm no longer playing for the Scottish national side, but thanks to BT and Scottish Rugby, I'm able to virtually rejoin the Scotland national session during the Guinness Six Nations.
Let's start with some basic attacking play.
Oh, that's weird. It's good that I don't like heights, right?
Expect Hugh Jones to throw in a switch.
Henry, you're across here.
Oh, that is weird.
Don't shut it off, George.
That's very lifelike. It's a little bit unnerving to start with, and actually understanding you can look around and stuff, but it's a very, very unusual experience, but really fascinating to be part of that.
This is a really important message about coronavirus.
To stop the virus spreading, we all need to continue to stay at home. If you do have to go out, it's really important that you stay 2 meters apart from others at all times. That's about 6 feet. Staying 2 meters apart reduces your chances of catching it or infecting others. By keeping your distance, you're protecting your community, Scotland's essential workers, and our NHS.
Get ready to go in the whistle.
A rugby club is more than 15 players on the field. It's about a life better spent. A community mucking in together out of love for the local game. From kicking tees to cups of tea. Protecting the future of the game, making the stars of tomorrow. Royal Bank Rugby Force makes rugby life even better. We'll support over 75% of all qualifying clubs this season with tools, funding and expertise. Make sure your club is one of them. To apply, search Royal Bank Rugby Force and get started today.
Jonathan Sexton is the man with ball in hand, and the stadium announcer makes the news heard that Kelly Brown is back on after twice being off as a blood injury. Alan McDonald on in his place, but Kelly Brown is back on. 40 minutes then for Ireland to try and earn their triple crown, to say farewell to Croke Park. A Johnny Beattie try scorer for Scotland in the first half is the first for Scotland to carry in the second. And Dan Parks sends it long. Sexton waits and sends up the Gary Owen. Chased well, and nobody challenging for Scotland. Carney for Ireland claims, and Ireland with this early attack. O'Connell. Stephen Ferris, a mighty, powerful Ulsterman. And Cian Healy not quite ready for that one, but Scotland were offside in any case. No changes to the team. Ireland have the penalty.
Well, Healy wasn't great. He wasn't expecting it up there at that height either. He was got one eye on the ball and one eye on where he was going to step, one eye on the opposition, so to speak. That was Carney's take. No, still Ireland with a good attacking position and a penalty opportunity. We probably would have preferred a try-scoring opportunity, but given the way that Jonathan Sexton's been kicking.
And it will be an attempt at goal. Johnny Beattie's had some treatment for Scotland. He's back on his feet. An important kick, this one, for Ireland, for Jonathan Sexton. Just to get those first points on the board immediately after half-time would be a huge boost. Oh, misfire again from Johnny Sexton, and once again his boot is haunting him and may come back to haunt Ireland.
Yes, he gives that Tiger Woods spit after he doesn't strike the ball well. There's been too much spitting though over the last couple of games from Jonathan Sexton. He needs to fix that, but it's difficult to fix in the middle of a championship, difficult to fix during the game. Looks like Ireland are going to have to either get points on the board through tries or consider a change.
Long restart from Dan Parks, and Sexton waits and will try and make amends. Up goes the Gary Owen again. Underneath this one is Hugo Southwell, claims and turns well. Ross Ford again, the go-to man to try and get a couple of yards more for Scotland. And Ireland may well have pinched this one. O'Leary digs for it and finds Ferris. Sexton out to Brian O'Driscoll. Danger now for Scotland, and Keith Earls. Pace from this wiry winger, and using that strength as well. Scotland desperately trying to counter ruck, and may well have done so. Johnny Beattie comes in, and Scotland have turned it over. It's what they've been doing very well in this championship. Back to Hugo Southwell. Left boot straight down the middle. And bouncing a long way down the fairway. Sexton, and that's a huge hoof from the fly half. And a long way back into the Scottish half they come.
Well, it's a long time since I've seen Stephen Ferris been pushed off a ball, but Andy Robinson referenced it in his pre-match interview that they saw the breakdown as being key, and their counter-rucking so far has been very good. It's stymied a number of Ireland's promising positions.
Well, Scotland may be about to lose another one of their back row. Alan McDonald is warming up, and Johnny Beattie's not looking too steady, but he's got to play on. So who will win the battle of the lineouts in this second half? Little short one works well to Johnny Beattie at the front. He's upended. Parks finds Sean Lamont. Tries to push aside David Wallace. Parks again, switches it. Southwell asks questions of his left boot again, and Southwell answers well.
Well, you can see some evidence of Andy Robinson's halftime talk there. Scotland showing a lot more enterprise from depth there. We were saying in the first half, Hugo Southwell had an opportunity and declined and kicked a touch. Looks like Scotland are really going for this now.
Well, coaches always look impassive, but Declan Kidney, I'm sure, a little bit concerned at the state of affairs. A long, long way to go, though, and Ireland still with all that devil in their back line, but another line out pinched, and Sean Lamont sees a bit of space through the middle, and Sean Lamont now cutting through, but not too many blue jerseys up around him. Scottish advantage, penalty is there for them. And back they'll come for that penalty, which is eminently kickable for Dan Parks. That break from Sean Lamont made it.
Well, it's very smart by Scotland. They're continuing the pressure on the line out. Well, that Ireland at some stages in the second half showed a lot of good variation. They were throwing it to the likes of Stephen Ferris, which hasn't been overused in the past, but just a straight up and down jump from Paul O'Connell, and Scotland getting right in front of him and cutting out the ball before it gets to him. And that's good work by Jim Hamilton.
Lamont's break eventually leading to this, another attempt. Good distance, but absolutely straight in front of the post for Dan Parks. Just wide with that one kick, the conversion attempt from Johnny Beattie's try, but his drop goal just before half-time, giving Scotland the 7-point lead, which Parks will try and turn into 10. It's another good strike from Parks, and it sneaks inside the uprights, and Scotland stretch further clear.
And again, that came from pressure at the line-out, well deserved. Ireland struggling to defend what was an attacking line-out that was then turned into a defensive line-out, giving up the 3 points for trying to slow the ball down. And Scotland taking their chances.
Johnny Beattie taking the restart again and taking the contact. Cussiter with the kick himself, and Tommy Bowe is there. And Sexton with the little chip through. Max Evans has a bit of pace, and Southwell.
Again, smart play by Scotland, playing with a lot more composure now, playing with confidence. They've got the momentum, and Ireland really struggling to find any kind of momentum. They're struggling to really get any intensity in their game as well.
Time for Rory Best to find his man. His man is Paul O'Connell. Heave, cries the Croke Park crowd. Into the roar of that crowd and the beat of the drum and the Boran, Ireland dance on a little bit further and creep infield, and still they come. Much better from Ireland in the rolling maul, and this will do wonders for their confidence. Scotland trying to shore it up, but Ireland, like the tide, come into the 22. And Ireland have earned through that maul 15-20 metres. And advantage Ireland as well, penalty to Ireland. And what an effort from the forwards.
Well, there's only going to be one result there if that rolling maul was collapsed. Ireland got themselves into such a good position. There's no reason why they would have collapsed it themselves, but it was offside at the maul. That's something else that both Jonathan Kaplan and last week Craig Joubert were very, very hot on.
Now, interesting, just before this penalty, Ronan O'Gara is coming onto the field. He wants to come on, but Jonathan Sexton wants to take the kick. And O'Gara will have to wait. O'Gara was 10 metres onto the pitch and waiting for... Oh, come on, says Jonathan Sexton. And a shake of the head and a sad exit from Jonathan Sexton. O'Gara is turning back towards the touchline. He's saying, no, you carry on, take it.
Well, that's all very confusing because it shouldn't be up to players to agree that. There should have been very, very clear instructions from Declan Kidney about the timing of that.
Substitution for Scotland. Number 19, Alan McDonald.
Alan McDonald is back on for Kelly Brown, just a blood replacement again. Jonathan Sexton, he knows now this is his final say in the match. And he would dearly love to give Ireland 3 more points before he departs. Just through for Jonathan Sexton, recovers his poise just in time. 3 points for Ireland, they close to within 7. And on now will come Ronan O'Gara.
He's almost hoping that if he ran and was facing away from the touchline that it wasn't going to happen. Last week, Declan Kidney was faced with a similar option. He declined it initially and let Jonathan Sexton stay on and gain his confidence, which he did with a drop goal, but he's made the decision this time around.
An infuriating day for Jonathan Sexton, but he has contributed another 3 points. And Chris Cussiter is off. Always happens about this time in the match now. Mike Blair comes on for the final half hour. What a fascinating final 30 minutes. We have 7 points in it. Ireland chasing the Triple Crown. Scotland desperate to avoid the wooden spoon. And everyone in rugby saying goodbye to Croke Park. All to play for. O'Leary with the box kick. Oh, and an enormous fumble knock-on from Johnny Beattie, his first mistake of the game.
There's been a lot of mistakes in this game. I haven't seen the stats, but most of them in from an Irish perspective. Now, can Ireland turn the momentum this game round in their favour? 8 errors from Ireland, 6 from Scotland. They've got a new out half on. What can Ronan O'Gara do?
Well, before we have this scrum, a young giant is going to come on for Scotland in Richie Gray. Well, 6'8" of Jim Hamilton leaves, 6'9" of Richie Gray, just 20 years old, comes on to win just his 3rd cap. A glimpse of Scotland's second row future. A little bit lighter perhaps than Jim Hamilton. Most people are, though. And this time Ireland have the free kick. Things going the way of the Irish now. Wallace carries. Brian O'Driscoll, little chip through for Carney to chase. Hugo Southwell is there. The noise grows inside Croke Park. And Southwell gets the kick away, but out sharply it went on the angle, and Ireland will have the line out.
Well, they got a little bit of the break there. That was so marginal, but they've got the line out. That was a kick from O'Driscoll, something he does so well. Southwell comes across. No. Not sure that was out, but anyway, Ireland have the line out.
Best goes to the middle, and Doncha O'Callaghan. Ireland look for the rumble and rolling maul, and Rory Best holding it at the back. Scotland crumbling a little in defence. Cian Healy picks and goes for just a moment. Stephen Ferris wrestles with Ross Ford. Ireland's forwards doing all the work at the moment. O'Leary asks Cian Healy to do it again. Now O'Gara. And Darcy digging his way low. O'Gara again, and onto Driscoll, into Tommy Bowe on the line. Just cutting through for a moment, Tommy Bowe. Rory Best, and Ireland pick up the pace. O'Connell. O'Gara again. And O'Driscoll tries to get another couple of precious metres. Ireland closing in. Gordon Darcy. Rory Best, and phase after phase by Ireland. Good quick ball, and Doncha O'Callaghan down just 5 metres out. And still they come. O'Driscoll. And out wide. Darcy waits. Good counter defence from Scotland. And Scotland have survived this onslaught for the moment. Lamont looks for it. And the clearance from Southwell takes play just outside the 22. As good as Ireland's attack was, Scotland's defence met it well.
Yeah, that's what Ireland were looking to do. They just needed a spark to ignite them, and they found it in that attack. It was a much more structured attack, holding on to the ball a little bit better, a lot more contact, as Keith Wood was looking for at half-time. But Scotland clearing their lines sensibly, because this is an area where they have been able to put a bit of pressure on Ireland, and if they can win this one back, it'll be great for them.
Listen to the noise inside this wonderful stadium again. It goes a little bit loose off O'Connell though, and Scotland have pinched it. And that noise just dies away, and Scotland marching forward now. Parks beyond Morrison to DeLuca, but he knows he's overcooked that. Big mistake from Nick DeLuca. A chance for Scotland to get out of their own half, but not taken.
Well, that really is the key to getting on top of this Irish side. Is primarily you've got to get on top of the line if you can. I was saying last week that that's what Wales would hope to do, but they didn't come anywhere close to it. They're barely even able to secure their own ball. Scotland have come here today, and they've started to put a lot more pressure on this Irish line. More pressure than any other side has probably put on this Irish line.
Oh, again, it's loose from Ireland again. John Barclay profits at the back. And Scotland have the penalty. Quickly taken by Mike Blair. Back you come, says Jonathan Kaplan. Sean Lamont does not hear the whistle.
Well, like another little look at that one. That's the second time Paul O'Connell's been pinged. Once was for holding on. Second time round for going off his feet. That's the overthrow. That's all because of the pressure that Scotland are putting on Rory Best's throw. They're getting men in the air, so Best has to be pinpoint.
Oh, right in the fringes of Dan Park's range, but he's going to have a pop at goal. Back on comes Kelly Brown, blood replacement. He's like a rolling substitution all on his own in this match. Alan MacDonald is off.
For Scotland, Kelly Brown, number 6, back into the game, replacing number 9.
Well, this is a massive kick. If Scotland could get themselves into a 10-point lead, that would really put the pressure on Ireland. They would need 2 scores to get back into the lead again. I'd fancy Scotland to defend a 10-point lead at this stage.
Oh, just about 50 metres. I would think that would take everything from Dan Park's boot. It dies just short, just right. And Rob Kearney comes away and sends a huge boot of his own downfield and all the way back to the halfway line and beyond.
All the way back, but it's to a Scottish line out, and Scotland starting to get on top on the set pieces. And that's what the foundation for this lead at the moment has been built on their defence, winning the contact and on their set pieces.
Long period of treatment for Gordon Darcy is completed. He had a knee injury in the last game and just recovered in time to play. Scotland's line-out works at the back. And again, it's Barclay at the heart of things. And this time it's Scotland who get that maul going forward. And look at this movement into the Irish half. 10, 15 metres. And then it dies. Back to Parks. Sends up the high one. Kearney waits and clearly taken out in the air. The over-eagerness of the challenge from Nick DeLuca. And a bit of a waste there because that was a ball to be competed for.
Yeah, but it wasn't what Scotland need to do is just start to make Ireland play from deep in their own half. And Parks, because of the strength of the Irish line, it can now start to play a little bit more territory. He can start to kick a little bit more. Doesn't want to play back into Irish hands. They want to maybe get a stranglehold of this game and play to the set pieces, because that's where their strength is at the moment.
So Irish line-out. We mentioned beforehand that Scotland and Ireland's line-out going into this match were the best two in the championship, but both have been losing ball. Ireland slightly more in this second half. A couple of overthrows from Rory Best. That one didn't look entirely straight and was not. And again, when you start to feel the pressure at the line-out, you might start to chuck it a bit to the side of your own men.
That's right, and getting men in the air is all about putting pressure on the hooker's throat, and if there's any kind of edginess or tightness or vulnerability there, it's going to start to show up.
There's a bit of edginess in the Irish camp at the moment. Into the final quarter of this match we go. The final quarter of the last games of the RBS Six Nations for both these sides. Dan Parks looks for Graham Morrison, big strong centre. And again, Parks, there are men out there for Scotland to slip and a slide into the tackle. Blair picks up and Southwell takes the hit from Keith Earls and then steadies himself. Again, Sean Lamont coming in off his wing and eager for the contact. And then that drive comes in from Scotland again. Ireland looked to have ripped it for a moment, and Ireland will have the penalty. Let's go down and get the thoughts of Luke Fitzgerald on the touchline. Luke. Our microphone down there deserting us just at the end, but certainly got most of that from Luke.
Yeah, as Luke says, this is an area that they've been so solid in the last few games, but is a little bit vulnerable today. They really need decent ball from here. They're going to have to fix that, and you're going to expect to see a little bit more variety come back into their game when it comes to the line-out. And there it goes.
Works well through Callahan, and O'Leary stumbles. And Ireland's ball instantly slowed slightly. So Rory Best, the hooker, carries. O'Leary looks, sees nothing, goes himself through the middle. Paul O'Connell. Beating heart of this Irish pack just up to the edge of the 22. And David Wallace adds his pace. O'Callaghan met by fierce Scottish resistance. Rob Kearney coming forward, 3 men upon him. And Darcy and on to O'Gara and O'Connell. And now Ireland come again. Space and men over. And Tommy Bowe. And Bowe goes himself and stretches, and Tommy Bowe has scored. Tommy Bowe with his 3rd try in this championship.
Well, those of you that would have coughed up the few quid for the programme might have seen that Tommy Bowe's finishing has made a real impact this season, and he really kept his cool there. It looked like Scotland had closed it out. Didn't seem to be an awful lot on there. Defence, Southwell really needs to do better there. He was a little bit distracted by Rory Best hanging out there. No, Gordon Darcy just draws the cover. Tommy Bowe looks outside. Yeah, the ultimate finisher. Just about getting it down. A little bit of oohs and ahs from the crowd, but I think the TMO would have given that.
Well, he really is a lethal finisher now for Ireland. 14 in 30 tests is quite some return. 3 in this Six Nations, a couple against England, which were precious indeed. And now he's given Ronan O'Gara this conversion attempt on the tightest of angles to draw Ireland level. And O'Gara does what Ronan O'Gara does best. What a wonderful kick from the replacement fly half. And we are all square at Croke Park, 15 minutes to go. Anybody's match to claim now.
Well, by far the toughest kick that was offered to either Jonathan Sexton or Ronan O'Gara. It's his first attempt and he puts it over. What irony.
Well, he got downward pressure there. Well, what a match to say goodbye to Croke Park. And the ball is loose, and Tommy Bowe desperate to seize upon that. Alistair Dickinson has come on in the Scottish front row for Alan Jacobson, and Scotland will have a scrum. There is Alistair Dickinson, missed last week with concussion.
And what I don't want to do here is concede another 3-point opportunity. This is within Dan Park's range, so they really want to get a good step here, will Ireland.
Blair waits, then feeds, and they will do it again. This, of course, the penultimate match in this year's Six Nations. France against England to come. Kick-off 7:45, and after that we'll have the Six Nations Forum. You can email your thoughts, rugbyunion@bbc.co.uk. I think Ireland might have ruled out winning the championship overall. They had to win this and get a 51-point difference. They might sneak this, and England might win by half a century at Stade de France, but they might not. It's just a breakdown play again. Treatment on both sides. Been played at quite a pace this match, and it's taking its toll now. Cian Healy looks to have taken a knock to his shoulder. Doncho O'Callaghan straps himself back up. Well, the very first rugby union test played here by Ireland at Croke Park against France was a close one indeed. Vincent Clare with a late try to deny Ireland, eventually denying them what would have been a grand slam. Their final match here is close as well. Ireland get the penalty that time.
Well, Cian Healy getting the upper hand on that occasion against the run of play, it has to be said, but it's welcome relief for Ireland, because any scrum in their own half has been a real vulnerability for them, and they've turned it around. They've got a line out where they love to play from.
Ewan Murray penalised on that occasion, and I'm not sure he agrees.
No, I don't think he agrees. And who could blame him? It's been in his favour all afternoon.
But Ireland back in attacking position. Again, didn't look straight at all, and now Rory Best has not quite got the yips, but desperate to secure ball on his own throw by fair means or foul.
Yeah, Ireland did well to get Heaslip in the air unopposed. Really just needed that to be anywhere, but needed to be straight. I think the Ireland error count has probably been higher in this match than it has been in the collective game so far.
Well, Ewan Murray frustrated in the front row and gets the stare. I wonder if Mike Blair's passing on that message word for word.
Doesn't look like he's calmed down at all, does he?
Is that his calm down face? Goodness me. Fields of Athenry around Croke Park. And a nervous final 10, 11 minutes waits.
Oh, there's definitely a little bit of friction between Cian Healy and Ewan Murray there. No love lost, I can assure you. And they'll have come up against each other a lot through the Heineken Cup.
Let's listen for a final time to the song of Croke Park. Ewan Murray has abandoned his scrum cap. Well, these are tense moments. Yes. Scotland get the benefit of the doubt that time. Free kick, Blair comes away. Sean Lamont charges into O'Leary and Ferris. Irish defence up so quickly on Ross Ford. Parks with the kick. Rob Carney back there. Stretches and grabs. Well taken. Sends it high into the Dublin air. Well taken by Mike Blair and evades and escapes, and Blair comes away. And now the blue shirts pouring on. John Barclay into the final 10 minutes. Little chip from Parks, but well read. Knocked forward off Irish hands. Scotland scrum.
Back to the scrum. Far too many scrums in this game for Ireland's liking. It was just off Stephen Ferris's hands. Now that last scrum, Ewan Murray, as soon as the hit came, he had Cian Healy exactly where he wanted him, with about his nose about an inch from the Croke Park turf.
Well, Scotland are making a change in their front row. Ross Ford, who's had a very busy game, is off, and Scott Lawson is on. Ewan Murray now without scrum cap. Any moment now he'll take off his shirt and start beating his chest. Down it goes again. Free kick, Scotland again. Once again, the early hit from Ireland. Lamont scrabbles his way on. Parks, an ugly sclaff drop goal attempt, but he knew the penalty was there. And Scotland will have a far more measured shot at goal now.
Yeah, well, they're really making their dominance at the scrum tell. That's all they really need to do now, Scotland, is play territory, and given the set pieces and their relative dominance there, particularly in the scrum, the points are going to come, or at least the opportunities are going to come.
Sean Lamont looks as if he's about to go off as Dan Parks prepares to take this kick. He's been limping around a bit. Simon Daniele is waiting. A man who plies his trade with Ulster. And this is well within the capabilities of Dan Parks. Oh, for the first time the noise grows, but Dan Parks ignores it. And Scotland lead with just under 7 minutes remaining in the rugby life of Croke Park.
Is this going to be another grandstand finish? Plenty of time for Ireland to come back. But at this stage, Ireland won't be wanting and won't be looking for a draw. They're going to want to win. And what will that do in terms of how they're going to see out the last 6.5 minutes of this game?
Who can claim the restart? Well, Ireland looked to have it for a moment, but lost forward, and Croke Park cheers. Keith Earls will be called back. I think he knew it about 10 metres from the line, and the crowd boo, but the whistle had gone a long time before Keith Earls scuttled in at the corner.
That was a good kick-off, a good challenge. And that's where it's gone forward. I think that's where it's gone forward from Paul O'Connell from the kick-off.
Well, now Scotland have certainly been here before in this championship with a game within their grasp with minutes remaining. They are so desperate to close one out, but Ireland have had the squeeze in this second half. Scotland, though, have taken their chances. Ireland now have a chance. They have a penalty. And I'm sure Ronan O'Gara will step up.
Yes, he has to step up and take these points. A rueful smile. That's his relaxed face. He's not a happy face, though, I don't think, because he's really had the upper hand on Cian Healy and is not happy with Kaplan's interpretation there.
So Ireland looking to draw level, and then in the final minutes, final moments perhaps, seize another Triple Crown. And Ronan O'Gara, wonderful stroke of the boot, and Ireland are level again. And just over 4 minutes remaining here for them to salvage their dreams of another Triple Crown. But they always dream at Croke Park of success.
Well, Ireland know exactly what they need to do now. They need to field this kick-off and not give Scotland a sniff of a scrum in their own half.
Well, Scottish supporters have been here before a few times in this Six Nations. Good take by O'Connell at the restart. And who has the stoutest heart and the calmest heads to claim this match? Forward comes Johnny Beattie, tries to brush off Keith Earls. And Graham Morrison. Parks again, options outside him. And Kelly Brown charging on, Scotland into the Irish half. Richie Gray coming on. John Barclay unsteadily back to his feet. And Scotland again just punching away, but good Irish tackles Mike Blair looks, and sideways only from Scotland at the moment. No way through for Evans. So Dan Parks decides to kick. Carney watches it and gathers comfortably. Daniele quickly upon him though, and Scotland looking for this. De Luca also in there. Scotland have the advantage. The penalty is coming and has arrived to Scotland with 2.5 minutes remaining. And it was the chase which earned the penalty.
That was poor decision making by Rob Carney there. He was well covered. He was reluctant to kick. It was on his right foot with a very, very tight touchline, but the support simply couldn't get there quick enough.
As we watch the replay, watching Paul O'Connell just make sure that the referee knows just how close this is to the touchline, the infringement. The chase from Daniele and De Luca, and what a chance this is for Dan Parks. But that is exactly what he faces. That tight an angle. Here's a right-footed kicker, so it favours him slightly. But this may well be a kick to deny Ireland a Triple Crown, to deny Scotland also the unwanted prize of a wooden spoon. And the boos are because Dan Parks is taking a lot of time over this. And referee Jonathan Kaplan keeping a close eye on things. With a minute remaining then at Croke Park. Parks to move Scotland in front. Oh, it's a good nudge, and the celebration start from Dan Parks. He knew as soon as he had struck it. The clock hit 79 minutes and Scotland moved 3 points in front.
Well, that's what Scotland needed to do. They needed to be patient, get the play territory, and the penalty opportunity would come. It wasn't the easiest one, but Dan Parks has taken it.
Well, celebrations led by Andy Robinson and by Gregor Townsend. Tony Buckley is on for John Hayes, who will claim this restart. It is claimed by Scotland, and if they're wise, they may just tick down this clock. They have the scrum, and the Triple Crown is slipping away from Ireland.
And you have to say, Scotland, should they see this one out, have fully deserved it. They've played intelligent football. They stayed with Ireland in that first 20-minute spell and got themselves back into the game largely through their set pieces, and they've exposed the Irish set piece in the way that no other side has done so far this championship.
Well, Ewan Murray having the treatment. And the clock has stopped with 26 seconds remaining. Oh my goodness, Scotland were denied by a final flourish from Wales. They couldn't quite take that win against England. A late try from Italy. Are they to have the final say at Croke Park? It would be cruel for Ireland after so much success here. And Dan Parks has once again inspired Scotland here. Ireland need to do something on this Scottish scrum. Scotland try and hold it at the back. And it's a fierce contest now for the ball. And Scotland still have it. The clock is red. They try to clear it. Into touch it goes. And the match is over. Ireland have been denied a Triple Crown. Scotland avoid the wooden spoon. And a Six Nations of so much promise for Scotland has finally delivered victory. A first victory here in Dublin since 1998. A special moment for Scotland. And a very cruel moment for Ireland. No Triple Crown this year.
Well, it's hard for Ireland to take, but they've only got themselves to blame. They didn't play with the intensity, and Scotland should take a huge amount of credit out of that. They've really got the reward for all their efforts in other games of the season that weren't rewarded. A fully deserved victory, and they played Ireland well.
Well, twice in this championship, Dan Parks was man of the match in defeat. And here today, he has been man of the match, and he has kicked the winning points for Scotland. Players such as John Barclay, Johnny Beattie with the try. And Ireland, well, I'm sure they didn't think it was a formality to win today. They are a better and wiser side than that. But Scotland, this is reward today for their efforts so far in the championship, where they have had victories taken away from them. But Ireland, my goodness, another triple crown, a fifth in 7 years, was theirs for them to take. But the celebrations are all Scotland's at the moment.